I would want to do a Stevie Wonder song, but I thought about it for 2 seconds and decided that living for the city has been my favorite since I was 9 years old. An entire generation was humbled by Slash, the guitarist who turned primal cries into solos about addiction, grief, and loneliness. People observed Axl Rose screaming into the mic when Guns N' Roses exploded. However, Slash was playing in the murky shadow behind him, as if pouring out his emotions. His death was literal. His heart stopped. Drugs, alcohol, grief, dragged him to the edge. He returned, picked up his guitar, and played like he'd never stopped, not for fame or money, but because it was the only thing preventing him from disappearing. You may know Slash from Sweet Child of Mine, Enter the Jungle, Through the Eternal Top Hat and Curls. You don't know about the night his best buddy died in his arms or his stepdaughter's death, which sparked social media conjecture. You don't know how much he paid to be here, alone between the previous howling and the crowd's shout. A soul screaming in solitude travels this way. You're about to learn the real Slash, not the stage legend. The man under the hat, who collapsed and got up with Hell's Notes' early life. Slash wasn't made for society. He was born alienated. Born in July 1965 in Hampstead, London, Saul Hudson was surrounded by artists, philosophers, and rebels. His father, Anthony Hudson, designed album covers for Neil Young, and his mother, Ola Hudson, was a talented Black American fashion designer who dressed David Bowie, Diana Ross, and Ringo Starr. Slash was a biracial youngster stuck between England's immaculate whiteness and America's racially inflamed America, between high art and a tumultuous real existence from birth. Slash said of his father, he was the renegade in the family, went to art school, married a black woman, and joined rock and roll society. Nobody in his family accepted that. His father's family disowned them. The family moved to Laurel Canyon, a 1970s artist community in Los Angeles when Slash was 5. He grew up at parties with alcohol, smoke, rock music, and eccentrics. Joni Mitchell, Carly Simon, Jim Morrison, Glenn Frey. He remembered them as misty shadows from childhood. However, a child was overlooked in all the brilliance. Slash grew quieter with age. The divorce followed. His mother grew close to David Bowie professionally and emotionally. His father drank more and drifted. Into the void fell Slash. No comfort. No explanations. After the divorce, his life fell apart. Moving between two homes, he calmly watched grown-ups drink, dispute, and disappear. He was expelled, caught stealing, fought, and arrested multiple times for theft at school. Slash said in his memoir that he lived like an adult at 12, unsure of his destination. BMX biking, stunt riding, downhill racing, and freestyle tricks were his getaway. After rigorous preparation and competition, he became famous in LA. Joy was ephemeral. It couldn't relieve the long-standing emptiness, the nebulous, hollow feeling of not belonging. A turning moment occurred. Slash heard Aerosmith on an old vinyl album. His spirit was stirred by the guitar's bluesy, howling tone. Slash didn't overthink it. Just knew. Man had to play guitar. Without money for lessons. Nobody knows theory. A simple chord book and an ancient guitar. Starting from scratch, he practiced 10 to 12 hours daily. The blisters on his fingers and wrist hurt. He continued. Slash learned by ear, recreating Led Zeppelin, B.B. King, Jeff Beck, Clapton, Joe Perry, and Jimi Hendrix solos and improvisation. Slash met Steven Adler, a young, enthusiastic, natural drummer, while playing guitar. They became close friends, started bands, broke up, and tried again. Slash improved, but nothing took off. He didn't require approval. He felt it. Slash played a Van Halen solo at school. His peers, who had avoided him for his long hair, silence, and oddity, now looked at him differently. Without speaking, Slash was heard. Music had opened the first door from darkness. Slash never doubted his path after that. Guitar was survival, not passion. He didn't imagine his popularity or future. He knew the world fell quiet whenever he played the guitar. It was the first time he felt in charge. Guns N' Roses succeed. Slash wasn't destined for fame. Born to play guitar and burn with it. In the early 1980s, Slash entered the professional music scene after honing his skills in school bands and niche projects. His first band was Road Crew with drummer Steven Adler. Seattle punk bassist Duff McKagan was hired. Things changed then. Slash connected with Indiana oddballs Axl Rose and Izzy Stradlin. They formed Guns N' Roses in 1985, but it wasn't easy. We practiced all night. Fights started in the garage. Days without food, evenings with cigarettes and moldy bread. Despite the commotion, Slash felt for the first time that his music had found a home. In the LA underground, GNR was known for its aggressive performances and explosive energy. Slash didn't speak or preach, just played. He soloed, freezing the room. Something visceral, violent, and extremely emotional spilt from his fingers. Guns N' Roses joined Geffen Records in 1986. They recorded Appetite for Destruction and grime, but with passion. Slash infused every song with soul. Hello to the Jungle's riff raged. Sweet Child O' Mine began as a finger exercise, but Slash made it a haunting song. At first, the July 1987 record was disregarded. Violent visuals prevented MTV from airing the video. Even if radio stations hesitated over the controversial lyrics, the public couldn't look away. Sweet Child O' Mine topped charts. Isha on Billboard. Paradise City became stadium music. Many films, games, and TV shows used Welcome to the Jungle. Slash became famous without speaking. Not like Eddie Van Halen. No showy tricks. From the chest, Slash played. He sought pain, not speed. Each solo was a wordless confession, inward cry, or recollection in string and sound. Success followed. GNR Lies, controversial but multi-million selling, debuted in 1988. Music superstars Alice Cooper and Michael Jackson collaborated with Slash. In 1991, Use Your Illusion, their Whime, and two concurrently topped Billboard's #1, 1, and 2 spots, a feat never before accomplished. On those albums, Slash was the soul. In November Rain, Estranged, Don't Cry, he combined strong rock wrath with ballad grief and haunting solos. Slash cut the melody into Axl's sorrowful poetry. The band started world-famous tours. But behind the scenes, everything rotted. Slash's drug addiction grew. Axl grew controlling. Internal conflict delayed shows. Fans rioted. Press vultures circled. Band nearly collapsed. Slash didn't stop playing. At every gig, intoxicated and sleepless, he walked out with his guitar like a part of him. No one knew he was self-destructing, but everyone felt the misery in every string bend and screaming wah, as if he were bleeding through the amp. After Use Your Illusion, Axl Rose became more secretive and authoritarian. Over one drum beat, songs take weeks to finish. Most crucially, Axl began to own the band and delayed shows at will. However, Slash was instinctual. He didn't desire control or controversy. He just wanted good music. Things worsened. Axl wanted replacements. He favored industrial rock for the band. He demanded complete control, including Guns N' Roses' moniker. It was too much for Slash. In 1996, he departed the band. When the media maelstrom hit, Slash was silent. Axl didn't. Axl published a statement in 2006 accusing Slash of visiting his home to reunite, and insulted Duff McKagan and Scott Weiland. The press pounced. Slash was suddenly labeled a traitor and coward, expelled from his band. However, none of it occurred. He stated in his 2007 memoir, Slash, that he hadn't seen Axl since 1996. Making his new band, Velvet Revolver, understand the lie upset him more than the lie itself. I find it hard to talk about even now, Slash wrote. What hurt the most wasn't Axl. It was having to justify myself to people who were supposed to know me. For 10 years after leaving Guns N' Roses, Slash lived like someone left behind. He formed Slash's Snake Pit, then moved on to Velvet Revolver, winning a Grammy. But deep inside there was a wound that never fully healed. Axl and Slash. They were opposites, one obsessed with control, the other born to be free. They were meant to create eternal music and to destroy each other in the process. Then in 2015, something no one believed possible happened. Axl Rose reached out to Slash. No press release, no media stunt, just a phone call, a real conversation for the first time in nearly 2 decades. They agreed to bury the past. And in 2016, Guns N' Roses officially reunited for the Not in This Lifetime tour, a title that mocked anyone who thought they'd never share a stage again. The tour ran for years and grossed over $580 million, becoming one of the highest-grossing tours of all time. But for Slash, the money didn't matter. What felt real was the moment he stepped on stage, stood beside Axl, the lights swept over them, and the opening riff of Welcome to the Jungle rang out like no dream had ever been shattered. After everything, Slash didn't come back for the fame, not for the fortune. He came back because the music was still there. And for the first time in a very long time, it was being played the right way, with the very people who had created it. Personal tragedy, loss, addiction, and heart failure under the stage lights, Slash always stood still. Head bowed, hair covering his face, body hunched over his Les Paul as if his soul were melting into every note. But no one saw what lay beneath, a body decaying from the inside, a heart cracking apart, and a man quietly walking toward his final limit. In 1987, as Appetite for Destruction began to explode, Slash traveled to New York for a show. At the Milford Plaza Hotel, he reunited with his close friend Todd Crew, bassist of the band Jet Boy. Todd had just gone through a painful breakup. They hugged, drank, ate pizza, laughed loudly, and rode a horse-drawn carriage around Central Park. Then heroin entered the picture. 18 hours later, Todd collapsed. Slash tried to save him. CPR emergency calls. It was too late. Todd died in his arms. He was only 21. Back in Los Angeles for the funeral, Slash didn't just face death. He also endured a silent storm of blame from friends and peers. They whispered that he had taken Todd there, that he was the one who dragged his friend into the abyss. Slash said nothing, but that wound never healed. From then on, he sank deeper into darkness. When he wasn't on stage, he drank. When he wasn't drunk, he shot up. When he wasn't high, he smoked. When he wasn't asleep, he screamed into the void, as if punishing himself every day for not being able to save his friend. And then came the price. In 2001, Slash collapsed during a tour. At the hospital, doctors diagnosed him with serious heart failure, a form of cardiomyopathy caused by 15 years of alcohol and drug abuse. I was told I had maybe 6 days to live, or 6 months, no more, Slash recalled. His heart, already worn down by years of abuse, had swollen to the verge of rupture. The pain didn't come like a stab, but like a slow death. Doctors implanted a 7.5-centimeter defibrillator inside his chest, ready to shock him back to life if his heart skipped a beat. No more stage, no more alcohol, no more applause. Just a man lying in a hospital bed hooked to IVs staring at the ceiling, not knowing if he'd open his eyes the next day. Slash didn't promise to change. He didn't vow to start a new life like some cheap redemption story. He just lived. One day, 1 hour, one faint guitar note at a time in the recovery room. It took several more years before he truly got clean, not because he feared death, because he was too exhausted from living as if he were already dying. Later, in an interview when asked how it felt to have survived it all, Slash simply smirked and said, "I'm not a health icon. I'm just a survivor." Personal life. Slash has always stood a step behind the spotlight. While Axl Rose screamed, leapt off stages and stirred up the world, Slash was there, silent, playing as if no one were watching. But behind that calm figure was a private life in ruins, shattered and bleak, not unlike the darkest ballad he ever wrote with strings. In 1992, Slash married Renee Saran, a model and actress. The marriage didn't last. They parted ways quietly after 5 years. No drama, no disputes, just two people who could no longer reach each other. Slash went on living like a lone guitarist until he met Perla Farrar, woman who made him believe he could have a real home. They married in 2001 and had 2 sons, London Emilio 2002 and Cash Anthony 2004. Slash embraced fatherhood in a way that surprised even himself. He took the kids to school, built Lego sets with them, drove the family to football games. In one of his rare sober interviews, Slash once said, "Music saved me. My kids gave me a reason to keep going." But that light didn't stay for long. The marriage with Perla began to crack around 2010, just as Slash was trying to get clean for good and build his solo career. They filed for divorce twice, reconciled twice, but in 2014 it all collapsed. This breakup wasn't as gentle as the one with Renee. Slash wanted to move on quickly, but Perla stalled, demanding additional financial terms. In court, Slash agreed to pay hundreds of thousands of dollars annually in support, plus 1.8% of his annual income for the children until 2036. He didn't argue. He didn't blame. He just wanted to end it so life could go on. "I didn't want my life to turn into a paperwork war. I just wanted peace." But peace is something I've never really had. After the divorce, Slash reconnected with Megan Hodges, his former girlfriend from 1989, someone he had quietly parted with for decades. They reunited in 2015. No wedding, no big announcement. Just two people, once broken in different ways, meeting again at the right time. But even when love found its way back, loss kept knocking at the door. On July 22, 2024, Slash posted a message on Instagram that left the world speechless. Lucy Blue Knight, Megan's daughter, whom Slash had always considered his own, had passed away at age 25. The cause of death was not disclosed. In his post, Slash wrote, just hours later, a scheduled post appeared on Lucy's own account, a long apology overflowing with sorrow held in for too long. Nothing more needed to be said. Slash pleaded with the public not to speculate, not to turn tragedy into entertainment. The man who had survived drugs, alcohol, heart failure, rumors, breakups, couldn't survive the pain of losing a child he had loved as his own. There was no solo to release it, no guitar note long enough to carry the tears. Slash simply fell silent, stepped back, and faced the grief the only way he ever knew how, by holding his guitar and saying nothing. Present life and legacy. Slash turned 60 quietly. No parties, no headline-making memoir, no grand reflections of a legend looking back on his life. He doesn't live in the past. He still wakes up early, practices his left hand, restrings his guitars, adjusts pickups, and writes new riffs, as if time has never touched those fingers. While many of his peers have stepped away from the stage to seek stability or nostalgia, Slash still stands there with his Les Paul, head bowed, hair covering his face, playing like it's his last time. After the Guns N' Roses reunion tour, Not in This Lifetime, which grossed over $580 million, he didn't rest. With his band, Miles Kennedy and the Conspirators, Slash released a series of deeply personal albums. Apocalyptic Love, 2012. World on Fire, 2014. Living the Dream, 2018. None were made to polish his name. They were genuine explorations where Slash stayed true to his roots while diving deeper into emotion and pushing his own musical boundaries. Then in 2024, Slash made a bold and unexpected return with his sixth solo album, Orgy of the Damned, a daring shift back to the blues, where every note seemed to breathe from the darkest corners of his memory. It wasn't flashy, it wasn't stadium rock, it was heavy with depth. He brought in names like Brian Johnson, Steven Tyler, and Chris Stapleton, not for buzz, but because they had all survived storms, all knew what it meant to claw through music just to stay alive. The sound wasn't nostalgic, it was intense and mournful, like blood pouring from an old wound that never healed. Beyond making music, Slash now brings it outside the studio. He founded the SCPN Festival, a blues festival with a mission of charity, raising funds for organizations like Equal Justice Initiative, or Child and more. A portion of each tour's proceeds goes to support social justice, children in war zones, and forgotten victims, as if he's using his guitar to pay forward for the years when he himself had lost direction. In daily life, Slash lives in a home in Encino, where he keeps over 400 guitars and dinosaur models from his childhood. He still loves vintage cars, still takes his kids to school, still plays Lego when time allows. He doesn't take on the role of a model artist, doesn't preach philosophies. He's simply Slash, the man who never stopped playing and never felt the need to say too much about it. But Slash's legacy doesn't need words. He may not be the most technically innovative or the fastest guitarist, but he is one of the most influential figures in modern rock history. His playing blends classic blues with the gritty spirit of 70s, 80s hard rock, crafting a sound that is both deeply emotional and unmistakably iconic. He redefined the role of the guitar solo in mainstream rock. His solos in Sweet Child O' Mine, November Rain, Estranged, and Paradise City have become reference points, not only for GNR fans, but for the entire music industry. Sweet Child O' Mine features a riff often hailed as the defining intro of the 80s, while November Rain remains one of the most enduring guitar ballads of all time. Slash also left a wide cultural mark. The image of wild curls, top hats, sunglasses, and a Gibson Les Paul became a global icon, used by instrument makers, video games, comic books, and fashion brands for decades. Gibson has released several Slash signature Les Paul models, among the best-selling guitars of all time. On a technical level, Slash is revered for his emotional intensity, fluid solo structure, and use of the wah pedal as an expressive tool rather than a gimmick. He inspired a generation to chase the idea of playing guitar with your heart, from bedroom beginners to professionals worldwide. He was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2012 with Guns N' Roses, named among Rolling Stone's 100 greatest guitarists of all time, and frequently ranks in polls from Guitar World, Classic Rock, Kerrang, and beyond. But his true legacy lies in this. With just one note, people know it's Slash. In a world where sound is increasingly digital and emotion blurred, Slash has preserved the core of guitar rock, raw, instinctive, and unfiltered. He never stopped playing, never stopped being real, and never tried to become a legend. Which is exactly why he became one of the few who truly are. Slash is proof that rock still has a heart. And if you've ever felt lost, alone, and turned to music not for fun but to breathe, then chances are his guitar was one of the things that kept you going. If Slash's guitar ever struck something deep in you, don't forget to leave your thoughts below, like the video, and subscribe to the channel, because there are still stories to tell. From legends who continue to live real in a world growing more artificial.